because this little dog was too exhausted to pull the cart. Its owner whipped it without mercy. Only after the dog had been beaten unconscious did the owner toss it aside like a piece of trash. Fortunately, a grandfather and his grandson happened to pass by, and seeing the dying little dog, the boy could not understand what kind of person could be this cruel. His grandfather said this was a Flanders cattle dog. Although its appearance could be intimidating, by nature it was an extremely hard-working dog. The boy begged his grandfather to keep the dog, saying he would share part of his own food with it. And just like that, the little dog was taken home by the grandfather and grandson, but because the dog was so badly injured, it did not even have the strength to eat. His grandfather told Nello that what the little dog needed was not only food, but most of all, loving care. To help the little dog recover quickly, Nello made a necklace from twigs, hoping this magical necklace would bring good luck to the injured dog. From then on, the grandfather and grandson chopped wood and delivered milk every day, while Nello carefully cared for the wounded dog. Finally, before long, the little dog gradually recovered under Nello's devoted care. His grandfather also named the dog Patrash, which was Nello's mother's middle name. 12 years earlier, Nello's mother had passed away, but before she died, she entrusted Nello to his grandfather. Although their life had been poor over the years, the grandfather and grandson had always stayed by each other's side. Whenever Nello's mother's birthday came, his grandfather would take Nello to visit her grave. Nello was interested in drawing, and this was exactly the talent he had inherited from his mother. The grandfather and grandson made a living by delivering milk to the townspeople. But recently, as the weather gradually grew colder, the gout in his grandfather's ankle flared up again, so sensible Nello had to take care of his grandfather's daily needs. He even made a necklace especially for his grandfather, hoping his gout would recover soon. His grandfather also gave Nello a gift, a sketchbook that had belonged to Nello's mother while she was alive. Just as the grandfather and grandson were talking, the landlord came to collect rent. Because the family had earned very little recently, his grandfather had no way to make up the rent now. Nello even took the responsibility upon himself.
We'll pay you, Master Stephens. We always do.
You better had. Sadly, patience is one virtue I do not possess.
After the harsh landlord left, Nello took Patrash to find his good friend Alois. When she learned that Nello was upset about the rent, Alois even took the initiative to sing and comfort him. This adorable gesture made the grandfather and grandson laugh happily. Early the next morning, while Nello was still asleep, Patrash woke him on its own, barking non-stop at his grandfather and Nello before turning around, running outside, and jumping into the cart. When the grandfather and grandson came outside, Patrash had already begun pulling the cart on its own, and this surprised the grandfather. He knew Patrash wanted to deliver goods together with Nello, because work was the natural instinct of a Flanders cattle dog. And so, his grandfather rested at home with peace of mind, while Patrash and Nello went into town together to deliver milk. Along the way, Patrash was full of power, while Nello stumbled the whole way and could barely keep up. The first bucket of milk was delivered to the blacksmith shop, whose owner was Alois's uncle, William. He not only paid Nello for the milk, but also promised to make a new harness for Patrash. William joked that the collar would not be free, and he hoped Nello would help Alois draw a portrait. So Nello found Alois, and the two went together to the big tree by the river. But Alois had no patience to model for Nello, and picked up mud from the ground and threw it at him.
Alois, sit.
By the time Uncle William finished making the collar, the two children had mud all over their faces. Just then, Alois's father arrived, but he did not scold Alois or Nello, and instead politely asked Alois to say goodbye to everyone. After that, Nello hurried toward town. If he arrived too late, the townspeople might stop ordering milk from his family. With Nello and Patrash working together, all the milk was soon delivered. In the center of town stood a grand cathedral, and he had heard from his grandfather that there was a painting inside. His mother seemed to have loved this painting while she was alive, and outside the church stood a statue of its creator, Rubens. Nello stared blankly at Rubens's statue, as if it had stirred his longing for his mother. This caught the eye of Mr. Grande, a well-known local artist who happened to be passing by. Seeing Nello's worshipful expression as he looked at the statue, Mr. Grande became curious about the boy. If Rubens were still alive and could see a pair of young, bright eyes gazing up at him, he would surely be very happy. Mr. Grande briefly told Nello about Rubens's past, because in every field of art, Rubens was a true master, but what mattered most was Rubens himself. because he was filled with interest and passion for everything. Outside the church, Mr. Grande met Stevens, another famous local artist, but compared with Mr. Grande, Stevens was much more snobbish. He was about to take the mayor's son to see Rubens's oil painting, because entering the church required money. After receiving Stevens's invitation, Mr. Grande and Nello also entered the church. Nello carefully hid behind a pillar. Just as the priest was about to pull back the curtain, Patrash rushed into the church with the cart and even knocked over the donation box. The priest hurried over. He angrily accused Nello of being a thief, and Nello quickly fled with Patrash. But bad luck came one thing after another. Just as Nello and Patrash were still shaken, a drunken man found him. The man was Patrash's former owner. Seeing that Patrash had recovered its health, he threatened Nello and demanded that he give Patrash back. He even cut through Patrash's collar with a dagger. At that moment, William stepped in front of Nello. The man kept waving the dagger in his hand, but Mr. Grande rushed over, knocked it away with a brick, and pushed him onto a stall. Furious, the man picked up a kitchen knife nearby and swung it toward Mr. Grande's body. Just then, Patrash rushed out and knocked the drunkard down, and the street farce finally came to an end. Mr. Grande brought Nello and Patrash back to his home. A beautiful self-portrait caught Nello's attention. Mr. Grande told him the story behind the painting, saying it had been painted for him by one of his outstanding students. Unfortunately, that student was a woman. In today's society, people were constantly reminded of their identity and status, and Mr. Grande regretted that he had not been able to do more for her back then. Nello said he had also painted a portrait of his good friend, and hoped Mr. Grande could give him an opinion. But when Mr. Grande saw the portrait, he could not believe that this poor little boy could draw such a delicate self-portrait. Still, Nello's drawing skills were not quite enough yet. Nello hoped Mr. Grande could become his teacher. Mr. Grande readily agreed, but he was about to leave for Rome, and even Mr. Grande himself did not know exactly when he would return. He told Nello to keep drawing carefully in his own way for now. He had to observe the things around him carefully with his eyes, and before touching the paper, he had to figure out how the thing was put together. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. Now Aloise had grown into a young woman. Through years of hard work, her father had also become one of the few wealthy men in town, and Nello had become a handsome young boy, still studying drawing in front of Rubens's statue. When Mr. Grande met Nello again, Nello's drawings had become even more refined. Both his eye and technique were far stronger than before. Even Mr. Grande praised him with admiration, believing Nello could begin painting in oils. Mr. Grande brought Nello back to his home, gave him several brushes and bottles of paint, and demonstrated the basic principles of color mixing. Mr. Grande also thought of something. Every Christmas, the church held a junior Rubens painting competition. If he could win, he would not only receive a prize of 1,000 francs, but also a place at the art academy. Mr. Grande hoped Nello would definitely take part. Hearing this, Nello agreed without hesitation. On his way home, Nello ran into Aloise. Nello told her the good news, and also gave her the colored portrait he had painted of her. Although the two had grown up together as childhood sweethearts, because of their different family circumstances, Aloise's father did not want his daughter to spend too much time with Nello. But Aloise firmly believed that Nello could give her happiness, and the two still met in secret. That night, the two of them brought Patrash and slipped into a circus. Just as Aloise was watching, completely fascinated, Nello took out his sketchboard, and this scene was noticed by a female fortune teller. She sincerely waved Nello and Aloise over. After carefully reading both of their palms, she said, "One day, you will become a great man, and your lives and love will move many people." The fortune teller took out a ring, and Nello understood immediately, placing it on Aloise's ring finger. After that, the two celebrated with the circus. Without realizing it, the two actually fell deeply asleep, and even Patrash found happiness of its own. It was not until the next morning that Aloise's father anxiously found them there. Nello hurriedly explained to him that he had wanted to paint Aloise's portrait, but her father scolded Nello for being irresponsible, and casually threw away Nello's oil painting. And just like that, her father took Aloise away. Before leaving, Aloise still picked up the painting from the ground. On the way home, Nello was stopped by Aloise's father, who said Nello's portrait was terrible, but Aloise's mother liked it very much, so she took out a valuable coin, hoping to buy the painting. But Nello said his painting was not for sale, because it was a gift he had given to Aloise. After hearing this, her father said nothing more, and only demanded that Nello stay away from his daughter. On the way home, Nello regretted not accepting that coin, but he knew he could not sell that painting. Nello also firmly believed that when the day came that he succeeded, this portrait of Alois would be worth a fortune, and Alois looked at the portrait and shed sad tears. Her mother also promised Alois that she would talk to her father. She thought her husband had gone too far. Ever since childhood, Nello had been like an older brother to Alois, and Nello was a hard-working child.
No girl can do better than to be happy, even if it means marrying a tinker's son like you were. And I didn't judge you because you were poor and had dreams.
No, I had ambitions. This boy dreams of nothing but being an artist. What kind of future is that?
Before long, it would be Alois's birthday, and his grandfather even specially made a gift for her. But Nello said he would not go this year. His grandfather comforted Nello, saying that although Alois's father was a very forceful man, Nello should understand that deep down, he was a good person. He only wanted his daughter to live well. Although people may be divided into rich and poor, one day we will all return to God, and then we will realize that all of this was only a dream. That night, Nello came to Alois's house. He climbed up a ladder to Alois's window, gave her the doll his grandfather had prepared, and even kissed the girl he loved. But this gesture brought disaster down on Nello. In the middle of the night, Alois's family barn caught fire, and everyone fought with all their strength to put it out. Even Nello's grandfather, after hearing the cries for help, hurriedly got out of bed. Dragging his old body, he kept helping put out the fire. But after all, he was already advanced in age, and even pumping water from the well left him gasping for breath. After an entire night of chaos, Alois's family barn still became ruins. Fortunately, the fire did not spread to the neighboring houses. A friend of Alois's father, who was also Nello's landlord, believed this was a long-planned act of revenge and pointed the blame at Nello. At first, Alois's father did not believe anyone had set the fire, but when he learned that Nello had been there the previous night, he gradually began to believe that Nello had deliberately taken revenge because he had not allowed him to see Alois. He even snatched the doll from his daughter's hands and then slammed it heavily onto the ground. Even though Nello tried his best to explain, no one was willing to believe him. After this incident, almost no one in town bought milk from Nello's family anymore, because the landlord had stolen all of Nello's business. Now only William still supported Nello by buying from him. After the fire, his grandfather's health grew worse day by day. Finally, before long, his grandfather passed away. After the funeral, only William quietly stayed by Nello's side. The reason William had always helped Nello was that he deeply admired Nello's mother. His grandfather also left behind a letter from Nello's mother. In the letter, besides her guilt toward Nello's grandfather, there was also her love for Nello. The day Nello was born was the happiest day of her life. This also proved that true happiness does not come from wealth or status, but from within our hearts. How she wished she could sit by the pond once more with Nello and his grandfather, quietly watching the boats pass in the distance, but heaven did not give her that chance. Now Nello had become a true orphan. Uncle William hoped he would come live with him, but Nello said he had something more important to do, because the painting competition was about to begin. Nello kept creating his work at home. He sketched the scene from that night when he and Alois were at the circus. He wanted to use this painting as his entry for the competition. After working hard for some time, Nello's piece was finally finished, but when he rushed to the registration office, he was already late. At that moment, the competition had already stopped accepting submissions, but after Nello's repeated efforts, the reviewers still looked at Nello's work. When the reviewer saw the piece, he was stunned, believing Nello's work was extremely refined, so he promised Nello that he would definitely submit the painting for him. That evening, the cruel landlord came again to collect rent, but Nello had just finished his grandfather's funeral, and now even basic living was a problem, so he had no extra money to pay rent. Without another word, the landlord snatched away the sketchbook Nello's mother had left him. He also told Nello to get out of the place first thing tomorrow morning. Early the next morning, Alois's father took out all his savings, planning to go to town and buy materials to rebuild the barn. Nello arrived at the church entrance early as well, because today was the day the painting competition prizes would be announced. By chance, a piece of cake fell to the ground, and just as Nello reached out to pick it up, a woman stepped on it and crushed it. In the end, he looked around and saw no one paying attention, so he quickly picked the cake up. He broke off most of it for trash, leaving only a small piece for himself. Finally, before long, the painting awards began. This was Nello's last hope. As long as he won the competition, he would receive 1,000 francs, and all his difficulties would be solved. but the result of the competition was deeply disappointing. The winning work was not Nello's The Circus, but a portrait of the mayor. The winning young man was Robert, the mayor's son, and all of this had already been decided in advance. There was nothing Mr. Grande could do about it either. Nello's hope was completely shattered. His talent was buried beneath despicable, unfair rules. Homeless, Nello could only wander through the snow, but Patrash stopped in one place and kept barking. When Nello came over, he was surprised to discover that a wallet was actually buried in the snow. Nello opened the wallet and found dozens of silver coins inside. Following the name on the wallet, he went to Aloise's house, where Aloise's mother came to greet him. She kindly asked a servant to pack a large bag of food for Nello.
Is Master Kogas here?
No, he's out looking for
This?
Oh, dear God, Nello. You found it.
Seeing Nello's kind act, her mother was very pleasantly surprised. She immediately asked Nello to stay and eat with them, but Nello asked Aloise to get some warm milk for Patrash. After sending Aloise away, Nello hoped her mother would tell Aloise's father that Patrash had found the wallet. Nello wanted to find a safe place for Patrash to stay, but her mother hoped Nello would wait at the house until Aloise's father returned, and she would tell her husband everything. Just as she went inside to get a gift for Nello, Nello took the chance to leave Aloise's house. He walked alone into the blizzard. When Aloise's mother discovered that Nello had gone, she thought he had simply gone home, but none of them knew that Nello was already homeless. Before long, Aloise's father returned. His wife wanted to talk to him about Nello, but he was only thinking about his lost wallet. When he saw Patrash actually inside his house, he immediately tried to drive it away without a word. At this moment, his wife finally could not bear it anymore.
Nello may never amount to much, but you're lucky he's such an honest boy. And that damn dog found it for you. And don't worry, there's not one franc missing.
After learning the truth, her husband was filled with regret for his actions, but by now, Nello was walking alone through the blizzard. He was like a small tree on the verge of collapse, sometimes falling, sometimes struggling back up. At this moment, Aloise's family had no heart to eat. Just then, the maid broke the awkward silence. Risking being fired, she revealed the secret hidden in her heart. The fire that night had not been set by Nello. The real arsonist was Nello's landlord. That was Aloise's father's good friend. The maid had personally seen him lighting his pipe inside the barn. Aloise's father realized he had wronged Nello, so he set out to find the poor child. He came to the thatched cottage where Nello used to live, but everything inside had already been cleared out by the landlord. And at this moment, Nello was still walking through the blizzard, but in the end, he collapsed in the merciless storm. Aloise's father gathered everyone, trying to find the poor child in the blizzard, but in the end, they still could not find any trace of Nello. Only after the blizzard stopped did Nello struggle out from the snowdrift. He came to a corner of town, and miraculously, Patrash found him. Nello took Patrash and secretly slipped into the church through the back door. With the priest and the bishop both absent, Nello secretly saw Rubens's oil painting, finally fulfilling his wish. After that, Nello and Patrash lay down in the aisle of the church. They could only use a single candle for warmth. Gradually, Nello fell asleep, and the candle beside him slowly went out. Nello seemed to have a dream. He dreamed that he was awakened by a beam of warm sunlight, and Rubens's masterpiece beside him was illuminated as well. Bathed in that warm light, Nello slowly woke, and Rubens magically appeared before his eyes. Rubens asked Nello what he thought of his painting, and Nello praised it as magnificent. Rubens said that he also liked Nello's oil painting about the circus, and he was very interested in Nello's art. Although Nello's painting had not won the competition, gaining recognition from others did not necessarily require winning. A small failure was not truly important. What mattered was that Nello was a real artist. Rubens also knew Nello's mother, Mary. In Rubens's heart, she too was a great artist. Nello wanted to go with Rubens, because in this world, no one cared about him.
Do you really think you're not loved? Then you've yet to learn to see like a true artist, with your heart.
Under Rubens's guidance, Nello seemed to enter a magical world. There, he saw his mother, whose love for him had never changed. Not only that, Nello also dreamed that everyone was holding a funeral for him. At the end of the funeral, Mr. Grande arrived late. He had won the competition championship for Nello, but he regretted that he had come too late. Aloise's mother also revealed Nello's background. Back then, Nello's mother had fallen in love with an artist, and that unknown artist was Mr. Grande. As everyone called out Nello's name, the candle that had long since gone out miraculously lit again, and the unconscious Nello woke from his dream. Aloise's father held Nello in his arms and apologized to him for his earlier mistakes. Just then, Mr. Grande also arrived, and he gave Nello the medal someone had given him when he was young.
I knew you'd come. Just like in my dream. Did you know you taught my mother how to paint?
Your mother?
Marie Daz. Your gifted student.
Marie.
Marie never told us who you were. She was afraid of the disgrace that it would bring, and she was afraid that the scandal would ruin you. She loved you so much.